Welcome back to Two Who's Review. I'm Alex,
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
and today we're checking out The Pirate Planet, which is a Fourth Doctor story, the second part of the Key to Time arc, and quite, I was very happy to learn about this. This is the first episode written by Douglas Adams
Yeah,
of The
I
Hitchhiker's
was
Guide
I
to
was
the
excited when I
Galaxy.
saw that come up.
The
Yeah, I saw it
first.
come up, and for a brief
Huh.
moment, I went, "Oh, that's someone else with that name," and then I remembered that he has a noted history with the show, and I went, "Oh,
Yeah.
fuck yeah!"
Yeah, I thought he would have started earlier, but yeah, that's cool.
I mean,
Yeah,
Fourth Doctor, that's fairly early in the
it
grand
is.
scheme of things.
Oh no, I thought that he just had done earlier episodes with the Fourth Doctor. In my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, he wrote stuff in the mid '70s, right? But I guess if this is his first story, then yeah, it's cool.
Mm.
I enjoyed it.
It does show in various parts. Like there are a couple of moments that are very Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
For the most part, though, it's just a really, really, really solid Fourth Doctor story. I really enjoy this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that's so rare, and it's not like hard. It's not like completely this, but like every episode does kind of have its role. Like it's a 4-part story, and it kind of feels like it was made for 4 parts. It doesn't have that classic Doctor Who thing that comes up every now and then where we're like, oh, this could have been an episode shorter. Oh, I wish this was a bit longer. I wish this was more fleshed out. It like obviously there are bits of it that I wish like were like more than they are, but not to the point that I think it needed a 5th episode. I think this is pretty well conceived for its length.
Yeah. I think because we are, as is really standard with Doctor Who, we're dealing with a lot of very outlandish concepts, but they are being integrated pretty well, particularly with Xanxia being this hollow planet, literally the pirate planet, which is a very Douglas Adams thing. That all works really well. The weird elements of sort of striving for immortality are worked in effectively enough. Like, given that, actually, I might be getting the name of the planet wrong, but Xanxia, the queen. Given that we only see her body fairly late in the narrative, and she as a character really only shows up in the last episode, basically. It still works quite well. Like, that could have been way worse at the very least. And even some of the character arcs, like I really like how cut up the captain is over Mr. Fubuli's death. That has quite a lot of emotional weight to it, which is great. And also the themes of genocide, which, given how goofy the tone is for most of the story, are worked in well and pretty fucking seriously. Like, it's really, really disturbing.
Do the villains of this story have a higher confirmed kill count than any other Doctor Who villain recurring with standing?
I don't know.
I mean, it's probably up there, but
it would be up there for sure.
There's probably villains who can be like, oh, well, technically I've destroyed an entire universe.
I'm sure the Daleks would have obviously killed a lot of people.
That's why I said like recurring villains with standing.
Oh right, yeah, pardon me. For standalone, maybe.
Because like they say at some point that like on just one of the inhabited planets that was crushed and mined to death, had a population of like 1,000 million or something like that.
Yeah,
that's gargantuan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, that's a billion.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a billion, yeah, but still, that's a lot. And in terms of, like, confirmed irreversible kills, yeah, they'd definitely be up there. Excuse me. And even, I don't know if there'd be any definitive way to prove that they're, number one, but the fact they are is really shocking. And the fact that it happens in a story which, let's be honest, is kind of goofy, and you have this really, melodramatic, histrionic villain in the form of the captain, the fact that he seems to be the one responsible for it is really interesting. And just, you'd think, oh, yo ho ho, it's Mr. Scary Robo Pirate. I mean, he's probably just one of these, lovable rogue types who loves to steal shit. And he's oppressing a population, but it's not like he's committing genocide or anything, because that'd be crazy, right? But that is exactly what he's doing. Or exactly what Zangxia is making him do. So.
He's a really fun character.
Oh, he is. Yeah. One of the great.
Every time he
top.
cursed the sky demon, I was right there with him. I was like, yeah, this guy rules.
He's right up there with, some of the really fun, iconic, over the top Doctor Who performances. But it's one where it works. It's not one of these melodramatic performances where the character is clearly meant to be portrayed as serious in that moment and it just isn't working. This is, full blown, hamming it up, clearly loving every second of it, and taking the character seriously, for the actor. It's just great. And given that this is a one-off villain, he's pretty. I don't know if I'd say he's iconic, but he's so charismatic and he's so kind of interesting that he's more memorable as a one-off villain than other one-off villains we've seen. For sure. I mean, I think you'll agree, Cuff. I'm going to be remembering this character way longer than I'm ever going to be remembering the Mavellans, for example.
Of course, obviously.
What did you think of this, Sam?
I liked it. I when I saw Douglas Adams' name, I did kind of immediately go through okay, how much is this gonna feel like Hitchhiker's Guide and other stuff he's written? And the answer I ultimately arrived at was a fair amount, but not so much that it stops feeling like Doctor Who, which is probably the exact sweet spot you want to be able to hit with that.
Yeah.
Certainly, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's fun that you can definitely tell it's a Douglas Adams sort of story. Even little details like Avatron, the robot parrot, that's really kind of wacky and fun and a very Douglas Adams thing. But
the momentum hallway is also another very Adamsy concept.
And having that culminate in basically a pratfall for the villains is a very Douglas Adams sort of a thing. But even if you're sticking with Avatron for a minute, yes, it's very Douglas Adams, but it does feel like very Doctor Who because it is obviously wacky and strange, but it's got that air of menace because it's like, oh wow, this bird really fucks people up. That's oof. Also, just small detail, and I don't know how much influence Douglas Adams sort of had over this. It's almost certainly just a direction thing. But I love kind of the fake out of when Mr. Fibuli seems to be executed. The way that scene is edited and directed is kind of thrilling and a bit frightening, but it's also funny, again, in a very Douglas Adams sort of way. So kudos to that as well.
And it's very easy to tell, even putting aside the Douglas Adams particular style, but it's very easy to tell that this is a different caliber of writer because in a very Silence in the Library way, there's a lot of stuff going on that connects or resolves itself in a very neat fashion, and it's another one that asks a lot of questions throughout. There's the initial mystery of, this isn't oh, we've arrived at the same coordinates of Califrax, but this isn't Califrax. Then there's, the stuff with the what are they? The zombie psychics.
Oh, the Mentiads.
The Mentiads and how they
Yeah.
factor in. Then you've got, the purpose behind the mining operation, the nurse there.
You've got the weird, jewels just being tossed in the street.
Tossed
You've
aside,
got you got the freaky things happening in the sky and the new ages of prosperity. You've got basically a police state you've got to deal with. It's a very, similarly to Moffat, it's a very concept-heavy story, and it throws
but it's also one
that
that asks a lot of you as an audience to piece together as you go along.
Mm.
It asks questions, it answers them, it asks more questions, it answers those. And it does so pretty effectively, I must say. There was never any point that I felt like I was very lost. There was never a point that I felt like it was bloated. It was amazingly competently written.
I like also the way K9 is used, because we've seen...
Yes, I was about to say that. This is probably, of any episode that we've... Sorry to interrupt, but of any episode that we've watched for this podcast so far, this is the best K9 integration we've seen in any episode, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing more here than he was in Underworld, and he didn't die at the beginning like he did in the Leisure Hive, so...
No.
So yeah, it's good K9 showing.
This is the K9 episode I've been waiting for from the classic era. If I hadn't seen this, my only impression of K9 up to this point was something that's there for the kids to see and like, but then to be cast aside when the actual plot starts to happen. No, he's capable of taking an active involvement in a Doctor Who story. It's great
and we get
to watch.
the great bit of robot pet on robot pet violence.
Yeah.
Which is good fun. Anyway, sorry, Sam, you were saying something?
Was I?
No.
I thought you were.
No, you were, Fitz. I interrupted you to...
It's okay.
That's fine.
Would you like to say something, Sam? Is there something you want to add at this point?
I mean, nothing specific based on what we've said so far. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I liked all the little Douglas Adams isms. Even aside from the sort of wackier concepts and execution of those concepts, even just stuff like when the Doctor's just I'm just gonna throw a trail of fucking jelly babies on the floor, and the guard's just going to follow them and will steal his car. And then it works.
Well, it doesn't. It works for a bit, and then the guard comes back.
It doesn't work a second time, but it definitely works the first time.
That's true, yeah.
It works a lot better than that should have. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think even at that moment, I wondered, this kind of seems a bit too silly, but it still worked. It wasn't so ridiculous or goofy that I couldn't completely, not take it seriously. And even because doesn't that scene happen because one of the guards is basically sleeping on the job, he's just in the car and he's having a snooze. Am I remembering that right?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. Which itself is just kind of weird. And yet, I mean, it's believable enough so that it still works. And it kind of goes back to what we said in terms of Douglas Adams' writing. The fact that he can maintain that trademark sense of humor, but not have it ruin the story or distract from the fact that this is a Doctor Who story is very impressive. And
my favorite moment like that, if it plays into the K9 part, and it's it's fitting with how the Doctor often treats K9. I like that there's he's low on power. There's that moment where the Doctor's trying to get him to do something, not enough power, and then the Doctor has a very nice moment with K9, very sentimental, being oh, you're this is why you're my best friend, buddy. And then K9 just butters something out like really low, and Romana's like, "What did he say, Doctor?" And Doctor's like, the plug's back there behind me." It's a really neat joke. I really liked that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the few times in Classic Who where I had like an audible, like laugh out loud reaction to a joke. Like more often than not, I'm good at not like guffawing at jokes and stuff like that, especially when I see them for the first time. But like that got me. That was really funny.
To be fair, and I get it, it wasn't really a joke because it wasn't intended to be. It was also very funny, I think, watching K9 explode in the ocean at the beginning of
Well, yeah,
the Leisure Hive.
I should emphasize like an intentional moment of comedy,
of humor. Yeah, because to be fair, there's a lot of certainly unintentional funny moments in Classic Who. Let's not kid ourselves about that.
Mm-hmm.
But even like that bit where there's that tension, and I feel like I've seen scenes like this a lot, where Romana's been captured. K9 shows up trying to talk to the Doctor, and he's just completely distracted by the mission at hand. And then we get that weird comedic but also dramatic moment. It's like, oh my god, she's been kidnapped. Why didn't you tell me, K9? My god, that could have been so much worse. That could have been dumb or annoying or cliched, and certainly could have been counterintuitive to the tone that Doctor Who generally likes to create. But it really works. It balances that sense of humor with tension, and really the sort of the irony in the scene helps us realize that the Doctor can be frustrating sometimes.
I like the flip of it when K9 gets his own back and he's like counting down from like 20 seconds or so of when the Doctor's going to arrive, and the Doctor gets there and says, "Were you surprised by my entrance, K9?" And K9 goes, "Yep, you got me. Didn't see that coming."
There's also fun little moments with the Doctor and Romana as well. Like I like how she can cut through some of his pretentious bullshit. We've already seen some of it, I think, in the Ribos operation, but it's still very entertaining to see here, particularly at the beginning when it's like, well, why don't we just read the fucking instructions, Doctor? Why don't we do that? And yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good Tom Baker story overall. Actually, it's nice.
Yes,
like he has a lot of stuff to do. He does a lot of it really well. I really like his like passionate outrage at the captain when the captain's showing off the trophies. I forget exactly the line, but he delivers it with like a raw, like guttural, like mourning in a sense for the for the civilizations and the planets that have fallen. It was more it's something that he doesn't do very often, but he did it, and I was kind of stunned. I was really impressed.
Yeah, it's very, very good. I think in a way, Tom Baker's Doctor, and it's only something I've really sort of come to grips with recently. It's not that he lacks compassion, because it's definitely there, but it's not. I don't think it's as obvious as it is in other Doctors. And I'm not just talking about some of the darker moments he has, like in the Pyramids of Mars. He's so good, Tom Baker, at being this sort of bizarre, almost wicked trickster that some of that compassion maybe gets buried a little bit or doesn't get emphasized as much as we may expect. But then, of course, we get moments like this, which are really great and very powerful, that reminds us, this is who the Doctor is, and this is, the real mission at hand. This is what we're really dealing with, beyond the the wacky veneer that Tom Baker portrays as a real, well-rounded, empathetic character, which is quite great, really.
I was really surprised by the direction the story took as a whole by the end of it. I was expecting just a pretty the piracy of it all to be the big focus, with a commentary on greed being the big focus, with the plundering of these civilizations for their for their valuable minerals and for that to be the end of it. But then we get the twist at the back end of episode 3, start of episode 4, with Queen Xanxia.
And
Again, it does that really clever. It recontextualizes a lot of the stuff where it's like, no, she's actually like, she's mining these minerals. It's a form of greed in some way, but it's like to power. It's to make sure that her original body can stay alive while she materializes in a younger form. In a different way. And she's been controlling the captain the whole time. Not the whole time, but like she can control the captain through the cybernetics that she gave him when they originally crashed. And the trophy collection being the captain's secret plan to overthrow her, the key to time being mixed up and all that. I remember watching that, I was thinking, damn, this again, like for throwing an extra element into part 4 right at the end, it's surprisingly more cohesive than it should have been.
For sure. I think and also even though we've already had, we went from greed to tyranny to genocide, this, I don't know if I'd say it's any more serious than some of those things, but it's a whole new, different kind of seriousness. I really like that bit where the Doctor says, what are you going to do next? Are you just going to keep devouring planets, suns, galaxies? This machinery, its power needs are going to increase exponentially, and you're just going to try and live as long as you can, as long as there's nothing else left. I mean, I'm paraphrasing that, but that's essentially what he's saying, and that's quite powerful. And that's a whole other thing about commenting on immortality and things like that. Do you want to add anything, Sam?
I don't know, because like I say, I like the episode, but I don't know that I have all that much to say about it in like specific terms, at least. So I'm just trying to think if there's like anything else specifically that I felt was like worth commenting on.
I do think that the final resolution was a bit rushed, purely because it's predominantly just done with the Doctor saying what's going to happen and then doing it. Like the whole, okay, so the planets are going to fill the pirate ship, get bigger and bigger, become their core, and then explode the bridge. The key is floating, like, it all happened in like the space of like a minute and a half.
Yeah, I felt a little bit confused by that.
Slow down. What's going to happen? What are we doing here?
I felt kind of confused by that, actually. I wasn't sure whether, okay, if it's going to destroy the bridge, like the palace thing, that makes sense, but wouldn't it also destroy the whole planet?
That was my thing as well. For a while, it wasn't clear if they were just blowing up the engine room or the entire pirate ship in general, and I was kind of like, okay, wait, what's going on? Are they going to evacuate or no?
Yeah. Because when he says, it's going to fill that vacuum in the center, I'm like, that sounds like a bad thing, right? Like, that sounds like the planet's just going to explode if you've got all these other planets sort of... And I don't know whether he meant expanding or just sort of clumping together, but I think that maybe that's the one issue I have with it, is that because the ending, and you need an explanation for it, but because it was so rushed, it felt kind of confusing and not as satisfying as maybe it could have been.
I think I also would have liked to have seen like a better, or not better maybe necessarily, but just like a bigger resolution and ending for the Queen. Like, fair enough, her hologram gets blasted away, but I think I would have liked to have seen the decaying and withered elderly Queen and the charges being blown up around her.
Or whatever.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I just think I would have liked to have seen like just to tie it and last little bow on the end of that whole thing. Because like, I don't know, she was such a big presence in that last episode, and having the hologram just flicker out, and in the back of your head being like, okay, well, she's still out there, and then she gets blown up off camera. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's not as it's not as good as I would have liked it to be.
Also, this is a bit of a nitpick, but I was a little surprised. You don't actually see the piece of the key to time. Like you don't see them holding, saying, here's the second piece, quick, Romana, get the other bit so we can put it together.
I wonder if
That's
that happens
surprising.
at
I
the start
assume
of the
we'll
next
see that
story.
at the
Oh,
start.
probably. Yeah, I was just surprised it didn't happen here because I was expecting it to, I guess. But
Yeah,
yes, I think
but
it'll
also
probably
like
happen next story.
given the way they explain how they're going to grab it, I'm just like, okay, well that would have been a whole other scene of them like time traveling, sticking their head out the door, grabbing it out of space, and all that. So like, that's fine.
That's true.
I can live without it.
Sure.
And another thing as well is for as entertaining as the captain and Mr. Fibuli, and for as menacing as the Queen is in the back in her episode as well. Apart from them, it's not a strong episode from a sidecast perspective. Like I ultimately don't really care about the other guys all that much. I think that one guy. There's a nice moment with the one guy where it's like, oh, all these cowards are too scared to do anything about it, and the doctor goes, okay, why aren't you doing anything then? I like that moment, but like overall, I think that they weren't as like their best their what sibling, cousin, brother-in-law, whatever it is, gets changed into this other form, and they each have like a line addressing it, where it's just like, "What happened to you?" And then there's no follow-up. Like there's no resolution between those characters. They don't get to have a conversation about who he's become, what their lives are going to be like now. And it was such
Well, I
a
guess
big fixture of the first episode. Like you really felt the not the bond that they all had with each other. Like they were clearly
Yeah.
caring about each other, and then this life altering thing happens, and they've got almost nothing to say.
Well, maybe the assumption was now that we know the Mentiads are the good guys, then they'll assume that too. But even if that
He's
makes
still a
sense,
zombie.
yeah, no, I agree. Even if it does make sense, it's not it doesn't have it's not particularly satisfying emotionally, and there probably should have been some kind of resolution to that, at the very least. I don't mind. Like I like the sort of rebellious. Forgotten the name of the guy, but the guy in red. He's like, no, we should think for ourselves. We shouldn't just live in constant luxury and not live our own lives. And he's quite an interesting. Like he's got that interesting dynamic throughout the story, which is quite good. And even though I'm pretty sure he only shows up for 5 minutes, the cranky uncle old dude was fun enough to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's something about because there's also like what does her name Mula is her name or Mula or whatever like.
Yeah.
Apart from being frustrated by her grandfather at the start of the episode, like she follows K9 to the Mentiads, and then that's the extent of her involvement in the story.
Yeah, she doesn't do much,
Yeah.
and I agree. Like it's not the worst I think we've ever seen in terms of side characters, but yeah, they're not particularly strong. I don't mind that terribly because we get Captain Mister Fibuli and Zangxia, but and all the other wacky concepts. But yes, they're not the strongest side characters. Should be said.
I like the explanation that we get for psychic energy and properties.
Mm.
I think it's a really like the way that Leela describes it is like, okay, everything has a little bit of energy in it. Some people have a slightly more telepathic energy than other people. I think that's just a neat way of being like, yep, some people in this world are telepathic, and it's just about how much of it you got. It's a midichlorians kind of thing. Like, yeah, like, and it's phrased well
works.
enough where I'm kind of like, yep, I totally buy this, and it's also like very like we know this to be true from the state of the world of Doctor Who, both from episodes prior and to come.
Yeah.
I think it's very plausible that the death of a planet would cause someone else to gain new psychic power.
Yeah.
I totally buy that.
And also the fact that the Doctor communicates psychically with the Mentiads, that scene itself was actually quite compelling, and
Yeah,
it looked weird because we had their faces sort of
yeah.
superimposed onto the image, but it was still good. It was interesting and compelling, and it was a good use of the concept, I thought.
I do like that they just hit the console with a wrench in that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was
the spanner
effectively-
the spanner in the works. God,
Yeah.
that is also a very Douglas Adams sort of thing. almost has a Monty Python quality to it.
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
There's a bit in you've seen the movie Brazil, haven't you? Tough, you
Yes.
reviewed it, I think.
I did, yeah.
But it's that idea of there's a literal bug in the system, which is just kind of funny. Sort of, it's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, totally.
Romana, she's good. I
She's
like her in
fine,
this.
yeah.
I wonder. She probably could have had more to do, I suppose, but
I think this is my favorite Romana story. Or at the very least, like, story for Romana. Just because, like, she does get stuff to do beyond, like, the normal stuff. Like, the main problem I have with Romana as a character a lot of the time is that she doesn't fill the companion void as well as some other people do, because often the companion is there to be like okay, this is a reason for the Doctor to explain everything.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
the
when you
audience.
all Yes, and when you have another character who already knows most of the same information the Doctor does, there's something that is lost in that. I felt that especially on the Leisure Hive. I
Yeah,
don't
the
feel
Leisure
it as
Hive has got
much
that
here.
problem a lot.
Yeah, I don't think that I feel it as much here, mainly because, like, Romana's like she's taking some pretty big steps, and like she's like she goes into the she goes along with the police officers pretty willingly and amusingly, and she does so to like gather some information for the Doctor while he's doing this other thing. She cleverly tells K9 to tell the Doctor what to do.
That was good.
She gets these moments peppered throughout the story, especially while the Doctor's off doing his own thing. Like, I never felt that she was pointless. Maybe she wasn't like
Yeah.
taking. Perhaps through her we could have learned more about the other side characters that I wasn't particularly thrilled on. That might have been a way to flesh them out a bit more, is by giving them some one-on-one scenes with Romana where they're just discussing stuff. But like ultimately, it's not that necessary, so I don't think we don't lose that much for it. Yeah, I just think that this is the best I've seen of Romana, which is nice.
Sure.
I hope we get more of this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Is there much more to say about this story? Because I can't really think of much. Apart from maybe the funny relationship between the captain and his, henchman / twink, Mr. Fibuli.
It's very Hook and Smee, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very funny and entertaining. And I also like that, again, the ending has that tragedy to it. Like, you get the feeling that the captain did care about him, and I know that obviously his mind was being interfered with, but there's like, even when he's threatening to kill him, you almost sense there's kind of an affection there, or a fondness, I guess.
Well, he has that moment
which
early
is
on where
interesting
he's
dynamic.
like, he has that moment where he's like, "Oh, you, my parrot, you're the only one I care about. Everyone else is an incompetent fool." And then his parrot dies, and he has that genuine moment of sorrow. And then Fibuli dies, and that sorrow is even more so.
Yeah,
it's like it's really upsetting.
But good stuff.
Yeah, overall pretty great. And I think we've already covered it. I mean, we're 2 pieces of the key to time down. I can't wait to see what it unlocks.
We go.
Yeah.
But in terms of Pirate Planet, I will have to give this story an 8.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, I think 8's fair.
Brilliant. All right. Next time on the podcast, we will be reviewing Midnight.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. That's going to be great.
I haven't seen it in a long time, and I don't even think I've seen the whole thing for some reason, so I'm very excited.
It's going to be so good. But until then, I'm Alex.
I'm Fitz.
I'm Sam.
And yo ho ho, our mateys. Pirate stuff.
Yo ho
You have
ho,
the
and a
option
planet.
of just not saying anything.
Yeah, but
that's
that's
the choice you could make.
We
saying
can't break the
dumb
pre-established
bullshit
pattern.
It's part of our brand, Sam. We have to say something dumb and attempt to be funny, even if it's
if
not.
we end an episode well, people will think this is a professional podcast, and we can't have people thinking that.
No.
Then we might get sponsors and get paid for it. Who wants that?